You can either have success or revenge, but you can't have both. Success is letting it go. When you're talking about a world of competition, it created this excuse for your rage. And I vowed that I was going to get every person who ever doubted me, whoever insulted me, whoever made me feel slightly uncomfortable, I was going to get you back. And I was going to show you. But I was that focused. I was like, man, I'm here. I can show them. I can be beyond. A lot of your thoughts are not yours. You know, it's like an auxiliary cord, and people plug in to your stuff. You pick up things and you're like, why am I not thinking that? And your thoughts determine your feelings, and your emotions determine your actions. And so if someone can get into your thoughts, they can change the way you feel. And in a very competitive world, people tell you you're broken. But what I learned is that you're not broken. You're just not finished. Because nothing's broken, just things don't fit. And you pull it off and you put it back together the right way. And you can rebuild yourself. But the problem is, it's not anybody else's job to assemble you. You got to assemble yourself. And when we talk about rage, what we're talking about is an attempt to control things you can't control. You can't love someone and control them at the same time. And I had no control. And growing up with an alcoholic father, one of my earliest memories is him knocking my mother out. And I was like, got it, man. You run the world right now until I do. I was obsessed with muscle even as a little kid. A lot of my desire to be strong was because I knew one day I may have to kill my father. He was unending, never bending, just constant intimidation. And I had a desire to get strong. I knew I had to one day would have to protect my mom, protect my family. I started living my life like I was in a revenge movie. I was exhausted. It would be the end of me. I would do this stuff where I would go work out, and then I would work out until I couldn't move. And then I would rest up, and then I would go, and I would flex my muscles until they cramped. It was sadistic. It was masochistic. Yeah. But I said, I will never stop doing sit-ups. I will never stop. Again, sit-ups and push-ups until my stomach, till I was curled over in tears.
Oh my gosh.
And then I go do more. Because I said, no one's gonna beat me. I realized that the image of Terry Crews was more important than who Terry Crews was. Because you have to know who you are.
Absolutely. You have to share who you are.
But the game is not to share who you are. The big thing, growing up, I cared what everyone thought. Especially when you're in that world like that, everyone's opinion mattered way too much.
And how do you learn to not care or ruminate on the opinions of others now? When you've been so conditioned to people please for years, how did you?
It takes time.
Yeah.
It's not overnight. And I would never encourage anybody to just go test it out. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's something that takes years and years. The big thing about being tough is people thought, you'd be able to throw punches, but it's really about endurance. Mm-hmm. Being able to be alone, being able to stand alone. But change is inevitable. I'll never forget coming out of therapy And this guy was like, they were like, Terry, you have to learn how to tell people no, because I was a pleaser. I remember being in counseling, and the counselor asked me, she said, what if a director told you to do something you didn't want to do? I said, well, I have to do it. And she said, no, you don't. I said, yes, I do. She said, no, you don't, Terry. I said, well, I'm an actor. She said, yeah, but you don't have to do what everything the director tells you to do. I said, yes, I do, because I'm an actor. And she's like, no, you don't. And she said, Terry, you don't have to do what you don't want to do. I didn't know, especially since I was such a pleaser. It was one of the things, well, yeah. And I'll never forget, this guy came up to me and said, hey man, can I get an autograph? And I was going to do it. I was in practice. I said, and I looked at him, I said, no. He said, come on, man. I said, no. And I went crazy. And the guy was like, dude, relax, man. And I was like shaking. It was the first time I was exercising this no. And I was shaking. I got back in the car and I said, I thought I was going crazy. But what I was doing was dissecting and piecing and understanding who I was and what made me tick. Why do I feel angry if someone says that? Or why am I insulted? Why? Is it me or is it them? And see, and once I started asking these questions, I could let it go. You gotta start exercising it. Just ask yourself why you're so offended. How did I get here? The thoughts turned into emotions, that turned into actions, that turned into mania. You have to do what's within your power to make things right. Remember, you were out of control before. Anything can make you go off. This is responsibility. Mm-hmm. You have an ability to respond differently. You have that now. I don't want men to feel like they're alone. I don't want men to feel like it's just them and they don't know any way out and the whole thing. I have to be vulnerable. I have to share this part so that you know how far I came. But what I learned is that you're not broken. You're just not finished.
We understand the fire burning within you, the relentless desire to conquer, to overcome, to become the best version of yourself. And we've captured that spirit in every fabric we create. Stand tall, my friend. Unleash your potential and ignite the fire within.
It's been almost 37 years to the day that I graduated from UT. I remember a lot of things about that day. I remember I had a throbbing headache from a party the night before. I remember I had a serious girlfriend, who I later married. That's important to remember, by the way. And I remember I was getting commissioned in the Navy that day. But of all the things I remember, I don't have a clue who the commencement speaker was, and I certainly don't remember anything they said. So acknowledging that fact, if I can't make this commencement speech memorable, I will at least try to make it short. So the university's slogan is, what starts here changes the world. Well, I've got to admit, I kind of like it. What starts here changes the world. Tonight, there are almost 8,000 students, or there are more than 8,000 students graduated from UT. So that great paragon of analytical rigor, Ask.com, says that the average American will meet 10,000 people in their lifetime. 10,000 people, that's a lot of folks. But if every one of you changed the lives of just 10 people, and each one of those people change the lives of another 10 people, and another 10. Then in 5 generations, 125 years, the class of 2014 will have changed the lives of 800 million people. 800 million people. Think about it. Over twice the population of the United States. Go one more generation, and you can change the entire population of the world, 8 billion people. If you think it's hard to change the lives of 10 people, change their lives forever, you're wrong. I saw it happen every day in Iraq and Afghanistan. A young Army officer makes a decision to go left instead of right down a road in Baghdad, and the 10 soldiers with him are saved from a close-in ambush. In Kandahar province, Afghanistan, a non-commissioned officer from the female engagement team senses that something isn't right and directs the infantry platoon away from a 500-pound IED, saving the lives of a dozen soldiers. But if you think about it, not only were those soldiers saved by the decisions of one person, but their children were saved, and their children's children. Generations were saved by one decision, one person. But changing the world can happen anywhere, and anyone can do it. So what starts here can indeed change the world. But the question is, what will the world look like after you change it? Well, I'm confident that it will look much, much better. But if you'll humor this old sailor for just a moment, I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all. I've been a Navy SEAL for 36 years, but it all began when I left UT for basic SEAL training in Coronado, California. Basic SEAL training is 6 months of long, torturous runs in the soft sand, midnight swims in the cold water off San Diego, obstacle courses, unending calisthenics, days without sleep, and always being cold, wet, and miserable. It is 6 months of being constantly harassed by professionally trained warriors who seek to find the weak of mind and body and eliminate them from ever becoming a Navy SEAL. But the training also seeks to find those students who can lead in an environment of constant stress, chaos, failure, and hardships. To me, basic SEAL training was a lifetime of challenges crammed into 6 months. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs.